from the office of the President of the Senate. 1. A. Albert Owuru and 5 others against Federal Government of Nigeria. Subject matter: re-notice of demand of ethnic nationalities for the reversion to and substitution of the present military decree 1999 Constitution with the People's Mandate 1963 Republican Constitution for agreed troop federalism and legitimacy of Union and Government of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Number 2. Elijah Shukuman, Opia, and 2 others against Nigerian Ajip Company Limited. Protest letter and complaint by clusters 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9 gas plants industrial city clan in Yenagoa, local government area of Bayelsa State, against Nigerian Ajip Company Limited plan to pay lawful attorneys. 3. Jonathan Achaha and Patrick Gumgu against petition against Brigadier Ekudi or Charles Owonodo for violation of human rights and abuse of power on behalf of a Hyacinth Tokyo judge. Number 4, Isa Dr. Haruna against Zenith Bank PLC. Petition against Zenith Bank PLC for no-release of 150 million euro in favor of Gasoline Associates Nigerian Limited, account number 54803835537, domicile at Atoli Village Branch of Zenith Bank, Lagos, meant for construction and development of proposed 1,000 barrels per day petroleum refinery at Okia, Ogun State, Nigeria, financed by external borrowing from SYD Capital, Germany, GmbH, since 12 October 2020. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above petitions is seeking judicial remedy. Therefore, move, Mr. President, to seek the indulgence of the Senate to lay the above petitions before the Senate for official referral for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Is any of the petitioners seeking any judicial remedy?
None.
You may lay the petitions, please. The petitions are referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Order 42. I read. Matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President and leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of the senators, the matter shall stand till the next legislative day. No more than one motion may be made at the same sitting. It's a matter of urgent public importance.
So you have come under Order 42. Okay. Well, we need the endorsement of at least 1/5 of all the senators. Then we can take it the next legislative day. Distinguished colleagues, we have listened to the Minority Leader, and he wants to bring the Senate to oblige him to bring his motion on some diplomatic matters happening to Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates. So Is it the wish of the Senate to allow him, grant him that? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Next legislative day, please. No urgent public importance. You can't take it now. Read what you have read, what you have come under. So you have come under 42, and 42 is next legislative day. 42 what? 42A. There is no 42A. But you cannot read 42.1 in isolation. So, Minority Leader, if you mean to come under 42 and 52, you should have done so.
May I adjust my motion to add order 52?
Okay, you go ahead. Take 52.
Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present.
Okay, distinguished colleagues, the Minority Leader has come back to add our standing order 52 in addition to the 42 he read earlier. And that means that he's seeking the endorsement of the Senate to allow him present his motion now. So those in favor that we oblige him to do that, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Minority Leader.
Motion of urgent public importance. The need to intervene in the diplomatic role between Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates. The Senate knows that Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates, UAE, have had a positive diplomatic relationship, and in 2009, the UAE established its embassy in Nigeria. Further note that in December 2020, a memorandum of understanding was executed between Nigeria and the UAE to provide a platform for both countries to engage each other bilaterally. Aware that in February 2021, the federal government of Nigeria stopped the UAE national carrier, Emirates Airline, from subjecting Nigerian travelers to additional rapid antigen tests, as against his stipulated negative PCR tests at the Lagos and Abuja airport before departure. Further aware that the Emirates Airline then shut down flights to and from Nigeria, owing to the disagreement between the airline and the aviation authorities on the propriety of subjecting passengers traveling from Nigeria to emergency COVID-19 protocols. Concerned that after an interface between the authorities of the Aviation Ministry and Emirates Airline, flights resumed, but the Emirates Airline continued to conduct tests for passengers before departure, a development that the federal government frowned at and thus suspended the airline from flying to and from Nigeria. Further concerned that there are allegations that hundreds of legal resident Nigerians living in the UAE are now losing their jobs on account of the refusal of the authorities to renew their work permits, which offend the letters of the bilateral agreement between both countries that they have signed onto. Worried that there are speculations that the refusal of the UAE authorities to renew the work permits for Nigerians living there is a calculated attempt to pressure the Nigerian government into accepting their conditions of service that may have lost for their national airline that may have lost a lot of revenue from the Nigerian route. Further worried that if the Nigerian government does not urgently engage the authorities of the UAE, thousands of Nigerians living and working will lose their jobs and means of livelihood, and therefore there is the need for a quick interface with the authorities of the UAE according to the protocols already signed in 2020. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to mandate the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the Interior Ministry, Immigration Services, and the National Security and Intelligence Service, respectively, to interface with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria, the National Intelligence Agency of Nigeria, the Presidential Task Force, on the best way to resolve this crisis and report back to the Senate within 2 weeks. I so move.
Any comments? Can someone second the motion? Senator Philip Aduda, the minority whip.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved.
Distinguished colleagues, we go to the prayers. And there is only one prayer. Mandate the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, Presidential Task Force, PTF, on COVID-19 and National Security and Intelligence and Interior Immigration Service, respectively, to interface with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Intelligence Agency, NIA, on best ways of resolving this crisis. I report back to the Senate within 2 weeks. Minority Leader, do we still have Presidential Task Force? They have not changed their name? Okay. So those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, my point of order is order 43, and that's personal explanation, which
you may read.
By indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it so. I have discussed it, Mr. President, with you before the sitting, and the personal explanation is on the unfortunate event that took place on Sunday morning when ISWAP insurgents attacked Askira town, and a general who was rushing to the scene was ambushed by ISWAP and killed along with 3 soldiers. And that time and day too, Saturday, we also lost the 2 IC of the battalion operating in Askira. In view of this unfortunate incident, I want to appeal to the Senate to observe a minute silence in honor of the befallen hero of our country, General Zarma Sikirkuzu, and other officers involved, and also to mandate the Senate Committee on Army to pay a condolence visit to the family of the deceased who are resident in Kaduna. Thank you, distinguished colleagues.
Thank you very much, distinguished Ndume. Because you have come under our standing order 43, this is not open to debate, so we'll observe a minute silence in honor of our dead general and other military personnel that were killed with him. 1 minute silence, please. May the soul of our departed General, Brigadier General Zarma, and other military personnel who were killed alongside with him rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021, HB 1120, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021, HB 1120, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Rochet Anayo Okorocha on the Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Odigbo, Ogbido, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Ogbido, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 785, first reading.
Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Ogbido, Imo State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 785, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Adelere Oreilo on the Nigerian Institute for Agriculture, Biosystems and Food Engineering Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Institute for Agricultural Biosystems and Food Engineering Establishment Bill 2021, SB 835, first reading.
Nigerian Institute for Agricultural Biosystems and Food Engineering Establishment Bill 2021, SB 835, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibikule Amosu on the National Industrial Technology Park Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Industrial Technology Park Establishment Bill 2021, SB 850, first reading.
National Industrial Technology Park Establishment Bill 2021, SB 850, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill in the name of distinguished Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar on the Warehouse Receipts Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Warehouse Receipts Bill 2021, SB 851, first reading.
Warehouse Receipts Bill 2021, SB 851, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Joint Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Committee on the Navy and Marine Transport on the Nigerian Maritime Zones Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021. Mr. President and distinguished senators, we recall that the report of the committee was laid in this distinguished chamber on Thursday, 15 July 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, the chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Thank you very much, Leader. Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Okay, I have a report. Thank you, Mr. President. Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, representing the Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill for an act to repeal the exclusive economic zones, Act Cap E17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Territorial Waters Act, Cap T5 LFN 2004, and enact the Maritime Zones Act to provide for the maritime zones of Nigeria and for related matters, SB 49, was sponsored by distinguished Senator George T. Sekibo, representing Rivers East Senatorial District. The bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Thursday, 16th October 2021. Mr. President, the Senate at its plenary sitting on Wednesday, 17th February 2021, deliberated on the general principles of this bill. Thereafter, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Navy, as well as Marine Transport for further legislative action. Via Senate Order of Referral dated 18 February 2021 to report back with its recommendations. Mr. President, the bill, among other things, seeks to repeal the Exclusive Economic Zone Act, Cap E17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria. After the referral of the bill, the committee held several meetings and resolved as follows: to consult widely with relevant stakeholders on the merits of the bill, to organize a public hearing in order to collate stakeholders' input on the bill, and to provide a platform for effective interactions, and finally, to consider any other matter incidental to that would assist the committee in the discharge of its assignment. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, because of time, and because I know everyone has a copy of this report, I am moving to talk about our findings. And this will be on page 10 of this report. Observations and findings. Having regard to views canvassed at the public hearing and our subsequent clause-by-clause analysis of the provisions of the bill, we hereby make the following observations and findings. 1. That stakeholders unanimously supported the passage of the bill with amendments which were reflected in the draft bill for approval by the Senate. 2. That the passage of the bill will provide uniform standard in the regulation and management of Nigeria's territorial sea and the exclusive economic and contiguous zones, as the bill seeks to repeal the extant acts on the subject and streamline their provisions in conformity with the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea for maximum benefits as obtainable in other jurisdictions. Number 3, that the proposed bill reflects international convention legal framework for coastal states to claim internationally acceptable maritime zones, rights, and sovereignty in order to access all marine associated benefits. 4, that the review of national maritime legislation through this proposed repeal and reenactment bill will enable Nigeria optimize its maritime claims permitted by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. This is in view of the fact that currently Nigeria is yet to optimize any of its claims as it relates to the delineation of baselines, contiguous zone, and jurisdiction over underwater archaeological and historical objects, as well as jurisdiction on the exclusive economic zone, except the claim for extension of the outer limits of the continental shelf. 5, that the bill, if eventually passed into law, will serve as a very important legal instrument encompassing the totality of the ocean use and management initiatives as encapsulated in the UNCLOS provisions, including sustainable resource utilization and conservative of maritime environment. Number 6, that the provisions of the bill confer on Nigeria, which is one of the coastal states, the power to adopt laws and regulations on the safety of navigation and maritime traffic in its territorial sea. 7, that the passage of the bill will provide essential protection for critical infrastructure of waterway cables in line with UNCLOS. 8, that one of the salient purposes of the bill is the fact that it will be the single integrating statute for the purpose of implementing key provisions of maritime zones with broader policy to ensure a holistic and well-coordinated implementation of statutes by several implementing governmental and private bodies. 9, that the bill, no doubt, will provide a framework for equitable and efficient utilization of ocean resources, protection and preservation of marine environment. 10, that the bill provides for comprehensive regime of law and order in the maritime zone, as well as the framework for the use and development of agreement within the parties to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea for effective implementation. 11, that the bill provides for clear definition of coastal and maritime boundaries and regulation of seabed exploration, which is not within territorial claims, and the distribution of revenue from regulated exploration. And finally, that the bill is aimed at reducing excessive claims on maritime zones, as more measures were settled of dispute between state parties are provided, especially agreement between state parties. Our recommendation: the Senate Joint Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Navy, and Maritime Transport, to which the bill was referred, having considered same, do hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the Nigerian Maritime Zones Bill 2021 as amended. I so submit, Mr. President, and I thank Mr. President and all our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity granted us to work on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Any comments? Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion that the Senate resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Minority Leader, we can borrow you one. That motion has not been accepted. Come back to your seat.
On the motion ably moved by the Senate Leader.
Thank you, Minority Leader. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this bill has 25 clauses. In any case, it's not a controversial bill. Most of the so those, have we all gotten our copies? Those in favor that clauses 1 and 2 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3 on page 2 and clause 4 and 5 on page 3. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Clause 4, clause 5. Clause 6. Chairman, Senator Michael Opia Mbamidele, please look at page 5. Page 5 has clause 6 there, but the clause after that comes immediately after clause 6 is reading 2. Is that sub for 6? I'm not sure about that. Okay. So clause 2. But clause 2, 1. It's okay. I understand now. So those in favor of clauses 3 and 4. Clause 4 is on page 9. It's on page 9. Clause 4. Where's clause 4? No, this is not what we are looking at. We are not looking at the Principal Act. Huh? Clause 4 is supposed to be on page 9. Huh. We are not looking at the Principal Act. It's on page 9. Okay, Senator Judge Thompson Sakibo.
Part 1, clause 1, 1. You go, you have clause 1, 2, clause 1, 3, clause 1, 4, clause 1, 5, clause 1, 6. That's what we've already taken. Now, this one is clause 2. Yeah, that's clause 2. That's clause 2. Then you have yes. Yes. Yes, you are right. On page 9. Yes. 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 Yes, no, he has not reached their face.
Clause 4 is on page 9. Clause 4.1. And clause 5 is on page 11. Even though we are not there yet. I think we are looking at the second column, not the first one. We are looking at the second column. Yes, the committee's recommendation, not the first one, which is the principal act. Okay, provision of the bill. But that's not what we are looking at. We are looking at what the committee has recommended. And that's the second column. So, clause 3 will be territorial sea on page 5. Clause 4 will be on page 9. Restriction on trial of persons other than Nigerian citizens for offenses committed in territorial sea, isn't it? So those in favor that clauses 3 and 4 stand part of the bill, say aye. Okay, 4. Senator James Manager.
I want to know from the chairman if there are, we have provisions like that in other jurisdictions outside of Nigeria.
Chairman, Senator Jones Manager wants an explanation on clause 4, whether this is the kind of provision in other laws, in other jurisdictions.
My co-chairman, Senator Sakibo, who is also the sponsor, to address that. Thank you, sir.
Co-chairman.
Mr. Chairman, originally, the bill insists that offenders, that's clause 4.1, must be tried in Nigeria. But all the stakeholders says, and the UNCLOS, the law of the sea of the United Nations, says that before you try them, you must relate with their country. But so that is why they now put this clause. The Attorney General of the Federation has issued a certificate signifying his consent to the trial of that person for the offense. Except he does that one, he can't just go and try them.
Did you hear him?
Because this is international law. Law of the sea is international law. And when you have a provision like this, you must be definitive that this is the story or this is the case in Ghana. This is the case in the US. This is the case in some other countries. because they were dealing with international law. So if the stakeholders' opinion that it must be done this way, that must not form part of our law. It must be something that is uniform, because it's international law and practice, international law and practice. So, Mr. Chairman, I want Sigibo, who is the sponsor of this bill, to come out very clean and then give us examples of countries that are practicing the same thing, because this is very important, so that at the end of the day, any law that is made here must be in uniform, so long as it's international law, must be in uniform or uniformity with what is being practiced elsewhere. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Mr. Chairman, every provision in the law is in consonance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. That is why that day, if we are there, if you see the number of stakeholders that are available on maritime matters, including the Attorney General, the Navy, NIMASA, oceanography, all about 16, 17 institutions attended. It's a very technical thing. And at the end of the day, we even have to get a small work group because of the technicality of the thing, and then all these things you see here. It's okay, yes.
Mr. President, this, Mr. Chairman, this restriction on trial of persons other than Nigerian citizens for offences committed on Nigerian territorial seas or water, page 9. I have one comment, sir. When I was operating on water, we caught. Yes, we want an amendment because there's no freedom. We don't have freedom here to try them. My amendment is, we don't need to seek any amendment is that we are free to try any other nationals that was caught on water committing. Okay, sir. Okay. Because, okay, I will write it, sir. I will write the amendment. Because there's no, we don't have freedom to try them. And so this, yes, it has affected us a lot. They are committing crimes on our territorial.
No, it's okay. I will separate clause 3 from 4 so that you bring your amendment. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against saying it, say aye. Clause 4, you said amendment. Senator Francis Adenigba Fadausi. What is the amendment?
Is that subject to the provision of this section, the Nigerian court shall try a person who is not a citizen, whether you are a citizen or not, and you are committing economic crimes on our water, you are supposed to be tried by Nigerian court. In abroad, they don't refer to us before they try us. At times, they execute many Nigerians on their own territorial economic water. Why don't we energize our own? Why don't we do the same thing here? Yes, sir.
I need a seconder to the amendment. Senator Manobot.
Mr. President, I rise to second the amendment that the trial shouldn't be tied to the Attorney General.
Those in favor that clause 4, no, I have to put the question now. There's no way I have to put the question. You can negative it. Yes, you can vote against it, but I have to put the question. It has been seconded. Those in favor that clause 4 as amended stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So your amendment.
Sir, my amendment is that we leave this thing as it is. We amend what he has proposed back to what is here. This says, subject to the provisions of this section, a Nigerian court shall not, which that is the word not that he's trying to remove, try a person who is not a citizen of Nigeria for any offense committed within the territorial sea, unless, that is the operative word there, sir, unless, and this is the global practice standard, unless before the trial, the Attorney General of the Federation has issued a certificate signifying his consent to the trial of that person for the offense. This is the standard for the trial of any non-citizen of any country. Nigerians also, enjoy the same right all over the world. The Attorney General must express his consent. That is the word.
Distinguished colleagues, I want to advise at this point, let's not be guided by sentiments. If this is what is obtainable all over the world, I will advise that we stick with what the committee has presented or recommended, if that is the practice. If it is not, then there is no need to vote again, because I put the question that those in favor of clause 4 as amended, say aye. And those against would be those who wanted the clause as recommended by the committee. But if it is the global practice that the Attorney General of any country would have to endorse, I will advise us to leave this provision as it is, without sentiments. But if it is not, we should leave it as we voted. So who is it a global practice?
Sir, it is this is what happened, and that is why it's allowed to be here. Because it is international best practice. If Nigeria commit offense on the high sea, maybe in Britain, you cannot take him to the court. You will arrest him and then inform the chief lawmaker of the country, who will certify that take him to court, and perhaps also relate with the other country where the man is coming from. That is the practice.
No. Are you a member of this committee? Did you take part in the public hearing? I'm asking these questions because I want us to do what the other countries are doing. If this is the practice, I think we should allow what the committee recommended so that we flow along with other countries. But if it is not a global practice that some countries don't do that, then we stick with his amendment. But the two chairmen, the chairmen have said this is the global practice. You, what is your basis? Distinguish. How would you have known the processes they passed through? How would you have known that the Attorney General in that country would have endorsed something? Senator Adetumbi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because of the sensitivity of this provision and the division, perhaps the Chairman Judiciary Committee, Senator Kweba Mdili, can educate the Chamber on the International Convention upon which this universal provision is based, so that we know that we are standing on terra firma.
President, distinguished chairman and distinguished colleagues, within the realms of international diplomacy, when a foreign national in any country is apprehended for committing a crime, two things are required. Recognition of the fact that he's a foreign national, and recognition of the fact that by coming into the country to commit a crime there, he has surrendered to the jurisdiction, the local jurisdiction of the country, and can be tried under the laws of that country. But for diplomatic relationship reasons, the country that is going to bring him to justice must duly inform the country, his own country of origin, through the embassy, by saying, yes, we have one of your nationals in our custody, and we are taking him to court. That is the whole essence of putting a provision like this. And this is not something that is peculiar to Nigeria. This law is not saying if a Chinese man comes here and commits a crime, or an Indian man should not be tried. No, that's not the essence of this provision. And that's what the distinguished Adams is trying to make sure that no national can come here and just get it and get away with it. That is not what this is saying. What this is saying is that diplomatic ties must not be, violated. You can't just put a foreign national on the street or on the water or anywhere and take him to court, or go and detain him, from there send him to prison or send him to death, sentence him to death, without his own country being aware. That is the essence of why countries that maintain diplomatic ties have embassies located in each other's country. That is the whole essence. This is for diplomatic relations.
And I think this issue should not be an emotional one. It's a very clear issue on what our chairman legal matters is talking about, and what also Senator Atiku is talking about. It's just the fact that countries and nations have consular responsibilities for the behavior and conduct of their citizens. You don't just go and pick a citizen of another country, even if he has committed a crime, without denying consular responsibility of his own nation with whom you have diplomatic relations. So this issue is just that after you arrest him, you are not going to just leave him off, but you are going to inform his country where he holds his citizenship, that I have in my custody such a person who has committed this kind of offense, and I am, by that provision in my law, taking him to court. Now, before taking him to court, once you inform the consular, the responsibility of the state where he's a citizen, it is now incumbent on the Attorney General to give you a permit so that you can take the matter to court. So what is the problem here? It's not a question of denying the rights of nations to punish criminals. No, it's not that one. It's just that a citizen of another country coming into your country, his own country has consular responsibility for his presence there. Otherwise, Nigerians, there are so many Nigerians in diaspora. Once you break this issue, you are going to make Nigerians target in any other country without you knowing exactly what is happening to your own citizens. So it's better to leave this provision as it is in this law. Otherwise, you will be denying countries consular responsibilities for their own citizens in your own country. Thank you, sir.
Mike, please. Distinguished colleagues, I think we have had enough clarifications, and I want to agree completely with the position of the chairman the co-chairman, and the leader, that we leave it as it is. Otherwise, in diplomatic relations, there will always be, what do you call that? Reciprocity. If we just arrest people here, like you are saying the Chinese will just execute Nigerians, if we start doing that, Nigerians would have no fair hearing. Nobody will even know how they are killed. Because other countries will decide, okay, they will not do that kind of thing, since we are not also doing it. So I would advise that we leave it as it is, because it doesn't harm anyone after all. It is meant to protect Nigerians, because our embassies or high commissions would, in a way, even provide consular services to Nigerians who are apprehended when they know that they are going to face legal situations like this. So unless there is something that we don't know, from the explanations here, I think we should not be sentimental about this. So I'll put the question again. But all the same, you still have your right to vote for it or against it. But I think we should allow it as it is. But the decision is yours. So those in favor that clause 4, and clause 4 is restriction on trial of persons other than Nigerian citizens for offenses committed in territorial sea. Those in favor that this clause stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5 is on page 11. Clause 5 is on page 11, contiguous zone. And clause 6 is on page 13. Those who heard that clauses 5 and 6 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 7, exclusive economic zone on page 15. Clause 8 on page 16. Clause 9, marine protected areas on page 18. And clause 10 on page 18. Those who heard that clauses 7, 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 on page 21, prevention and enforcement in the exclusive economic zone. Clause 11 on page 21, clause 12 on page 22. Those who vote that clauses 11 and 12 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 13, delineation and delimitation of the continental shelf of Nigeria on page 23. Clause 14 on page 24. Those who vote that clauses 13 and 14 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 15 and clause 16 on page 27. Those who vote that clauses 15 and 16 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 17, jurisdiction in respect of offenses committed in territorial sea. Clause 17 on page 28 and clause 18 on page 31. Those who vote that clauses 17 and 18 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 19 on page 33 and clause 20 on page 35. Those who vote that clauses 19 and 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21, power to make regulations. Clause 22 on page 38 and clause 23, supremacy of this bill. Those who vote that clauses 21, 22, and 23 stand part of this bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation on page 24 stands part of this bill, say aye. Interpretation on page 39, rather, that it stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title on page 42 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The explanatory memorandum on page 42. Those in favor that this clause stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The long title on page 1. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion that this chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a second.
Colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Joint Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Navy and Marine Transport on the Nigerian Maritime Zones Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 23 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I move that this bill be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Exclusive Economic Zone Act, Cap E17, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Territorial Waters Act, Cap T5, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enacts the Nigeria Maritime Zone Act to provide for the maritime zones in Nigeria and for related matters 2021, SB 49, third reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Exclusive Economic Zone Act, Cap E17, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Territorial Waters Act, Cap T5, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigeria Maritime Zone Act to provide for the maritime zones in Nigeria and for related matters 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations to the Senate, and particularly the sponsor of the bill. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal College of Education, Basambiri, Bayelsa State Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 21st September 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Professor Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Senator Ahmed Babakaita, chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South Senatorial District. I want to move that the report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Basambri, Bayelsa State, and for other matters connected herewith, 2021, SB 775. I so move.
I need a seconder. Senator Suleiman Abdul Karim.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Suleiman Abdul Karim. I rise to second the motion moved by Senator Nora on behalf of the chair that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions, Third Fund on the Federal College of Education, Basamabiri, Bayelsa State. I so move.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal College of Education, Basambiri, Bayelsa State Establishment Bill 2021, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Chairman, you may lay the report. You may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the chairman of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund, I thereby present this report of the Senate Committee on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Basambri, Bayelsa State, and for other matters connected therewith. The Senate, at its plenary on Tuesday, 21st of September 2021, debated on the general principles of the bill to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Basambri, Bayelsa State Bill 2021, and for other matters connected therewith, which was sponsored by distinguished Senator Biaba Rakuma Wangaga, Degi Eremioyo, Bayelsa East. After extensive deliberations, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund for further legislative action via Senate Order of Referral dated Tuesday, 21 September 2021, and to report back with its recommendations. Mr. President, Chairman, I want to go on to the objective to save time. The specific objectives of the bill. In specifics, this legislative proposal seeks to achieve, inter alia, the following. 1, to identify educational needs with a view to finding lasting solution within the context of overall national educational development agenda. 2, to bring an all-encompassing social change by improving on the gains of the past while focusing on teacher education through teaching and learning innovation for success with other national and international institutions involved in teacher training, research and general development of teacher education with a view to promoting good governance, credible leadership, and managerial skills among specialists in the education sector in Nigeria. 4, to provide and promote sound, viral and vibrant teacher education and training as a foundation for acquisition of skills and techniques in teacher education and for the general development of Bayelsa State in particular and Nigeria in general. Mr. Chairman, I will move on to the summary and findings. The findings of this committee From the views expressed by the stakeholders at the public hearing and subsequent analysis of both oral and written presentations of memoranda, the committee hereby makes the following observations. 1, that the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Basambri, in Bayelsa State would certainly go a long way in supporting teacher education, training, and instructions, while improving educational infrastructure, thereby increasing the educational opportunities among diverse demographies in the country, while closing up the gap in knowledge of teacher education. 2, the establishment of the Federal College of Education in Basambri, Bayelsa State, will no doubt provide the required manpower needs of Nigerians in the areas of specialized educational services, training of teachers and teaching in every aspect of education, and fields of applied learning relevant to the developmental needs of education sector in Nigeria. Recommendations. The Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund, having carefully considered the bill, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Basambri, Bayelsa State, and for other matters connected herewith. In conclusion, I wish on behalf of the chairman and the committee to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity for us, given to us to serve in this capacity, and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move. Thank you, Mr.
Any comments? The distinguished colleagues will resolve into committee of the whole. But before then, let me say that this will be the last item we will consider before we adjourn. And this is with a view to enabling our committees to go and continue with their work on the budget defense before the Committee on Appropriations. Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to a motion that this distinguished Senate resolves into the Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so move.
Minority.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report clause by clause, say aye. Those against, any the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this is a very straightforward bill. It's a standard bill for establishment of a tertiary institution, and this time the establishment of Federal College of Education, Basambiri, in Bayelsa State. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, any the ayes have it. Clause 6 on page 8, functions of the Council and its Finance and General Purpose Committee, clauses 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those in favor of clauses 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes. Clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, Office of the Provost, clause 14, tenure and procedure and procedure for the removal of provost on page 16, and clause 15 on page 18. Those in favor of clauses 13, 14, and 15 stand part of 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 16 on page 20. Clause 17, functions of registrar and tenor. Clause 18, functions of bursar and tenor. Clause 19 on page 23, functions of college librarian and tenor. and clause 20, how a principal officer can resign. Those in favor of clauses 16, 17, 18, and 19, and 20 stand part of this bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21, reappointment of registrar, college librarian, and bursar. Clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25, establishment of College of Education Fund on page 26. Those in favor of those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 26, power to accept gifts. Those who are at clauses 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 31, discipline of student, that clause 31 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation on page 32 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title on page 32 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause the schedule on page 33 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 35 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion that the chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse the plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal College of Education, Basambiri, Belsa State Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 31 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion that this bill be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the Federal College of Education, Basambiri, Bayelsa State, and for other related matters, 2021, SB 775, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Basambiri, Bayelsa State, and for other related matters, 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations. Leader of the Senate will stand down the consideration of other items.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, in view of the fact that our committees are still working hard to conclude our activities on the budget, I rise to raise a motion that this Senate suspends and steps down all other areas on the order paper to another legislative day. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion by the leader and seconded by the minority leader that the Senate considers steps down the consideration of the remaining items on the order paper till another legislative day, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion that this Senate do adjourn until tomorrow, 17th November 2020 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 17th day of November 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 17th day of November 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.